Hey, what is up, guys, and welcome back to the channel. So today's video, I want to go over the topic of optic selection and the type of optics that you as the shooter need to be more so gravitating towards, in my opinion. And I'm going to kind of go over this based off experience, and I'm going to give you guys a couple of examples of why I personally have come to the conclusion that I have come to. Now, I'm of the belief that whatever you want to run, if you want to run it, go for it. It's your gun. It's your fight, you do you. But I want to kind of give you guys a rundown of all of the different types of sighting systems that I have and the ways that some might outshine others. Now, optics, they do not help you shoot better, but they do help you to be able to see better, and you can't hit what you cannot see. So if you're going to be gravitating towards the lower end of magnification with optics, running something like a red dot and a magnifier combo, something like this EOTech and this Magnifier 3X, or you're going to be running something like this ACOG right here, you just need to understand the limiting factors of these types of sighting systems and the ways that the different optic reticle magnification setups will hinder you as the shooter downrange. Now, of course, everything is going to be more or less tailored towards the use case for you as the individual shooter. If you're the type of person who lives in an area where you're not going to be taking more than, say, a 200-yard shot, then something like a red dot magnifier combo or even an ACOG is going to do you every bit of good. Now, so that to say that you can't take either of these two setups and push them out to distances. No, I've taken ACOG setups like this all the way out to 800 yards and successfully got hits, and I have taken red dot magnifier systems like this all the way up to 500 yards and successfully gotten hits. Now, what you want to understand with that is getting hits and being effective with a specific sighting system are two totally different things. If you are on a manicured range and you have got the time and ability and you've got nice high contrast targets that you are looking at downrange, you could push both of these setups out a really long distance. The Marine Corps has been using setups like this for a very long time, but you got to keep in mind that the Marine Corps Marines didn't use that because that was the best thing out there. They used that because it's what they had, it's what the military had ended up issuing to them, and it is not necessarily going to be the best for the job. Now, a couple of ways that you are going to be seriously hindered if you are running a red dot magnifier or an ACOG style optic is one, not having high contrast targets. So a lot of times guys get in their heads that they're going to be plenty effective with a specific sighting system and a specific weapon system because they are able to just make hits. And the issue that you're going to run into with this is you're shooting on a nice, well-manicured range. The grass is nice and cut. You got a nice clear field of view between you and the target. You're not looking through any kind of brush or anything like that. You're not shooting at a target that's trying to hide and avoid getting shot, because humans tend to not like getting shot, so they're going to avoid it. So they think that's going to be an effective system for them. And there are a lot of gun tubers on here. You know the specific one that I'm talking about who pushes ACOGs really hard, looking at you, Trench. And I think that they're failing to understand is the real world when it comes to actually running these optics. It's not going to be as simple as it is with a nice, well manicured range. I have done this countless times where I've taken camouflage targets and placed them out to distance, and the magnifier red.com completely falls off after about 200 yards. And with the ACOG, you'd be lucky if it's a low contrast target that's sitting out in the open, much less something that is going to be trying to hide from you. You're not going to be able to see it, much less get an accurate shot or even range to be able to accurately engage a target at distance. Now, moving on up to what I personally use and kind of my reasoning behind that, and that is going to be an LPVO setup. Now, these, again, certain individuals are going to talk about how not durable that the LPVO is, while simultaneously pushing optics from companies like Sig Sauer with a 6 series aluminum mount mounted on the bottom of that thing, of which personally I have had a bunch of those mounts break. It's a very weak point, and they, for whatever reason, haven't replaced the mount for that optic to a more durable one, like even something like a Geissele, which is something that I actually run on my 300 blackout build. But again, you know, you do you, but just understand that, again, the limitations of the setup that you are using. Now, LPVOs are going to be plenty durable for what you are going to need to do. They're not these super delicate instruments that some individuals like to make them out to be. These things can take quite a bit of a beating and still keep going. And if you get to the point to where you are actually breaking something like this LPVO, or you're doing something to damage something like this LPVO, got bad news for you. You're going to break an EOTech or something similar too. I have had to send off an RMA EOTechs. I've had to send off an RMA Aimpoint T2s. I've had EOTechs with the glass break on them. I've had EOTechs with the shroud bend on them. I've had EOTechs that would not hold zero. I've had T2s where the glass lost its seal and there was fog building up, condensation building up in the nice humid environment that we have here in Florida, where the optic was completely unusable. Nothing is indestructible. Everything has a breaking point. But you need to understand where it is within reason of what you are asking your equipment to do. If you're trying to use these things as a baseball bat, of course it's not going to hold zero. There again, an ACOG is also not going to hold zero if you be overly abusive to them. Having been in the Marine Corps and had a pretty large sample size of ACOGs, and having used a whole lot of them and seen a whole lot of them used, I've seen a ton of broken ACOGs. They break all the time. They go down all the time. And the biggest thing is they just completely lose the ability to hold zero, and the turrets will just free spin them. That's the biggest one that I've seen. But it has happened quite a bit, and that is with real-world experience, real-world use with a professional military. Now, understanding limitations. One thing you need to understand about the LPVO, as the same as the limitations that I had spoke about with the ACOG and the Magnifier before, you're going to run into those same limitations with the LPVO. But what you are looking at in a package like this is more or less a jack of all trades, master of none type situation, to where you are able to realistically engage things out to a pretty reasonable distance, 300-400 yards, be able to see targets that are a little bit more hidden, and then the ability to be able to connect with, say, moving targets that are presenting a little bit more of a silhouette to shoot at, and be able to get your hits down range. Something like an LPVO, you're going to be able to do that way better than you will with an ACOG, and I hope to get some shots down range through the glass on these different setups. That way you can kind of get an idea of what it looks like. It's not going to be a perfect one-to-one because you're looking through a camera lens that's looking through multiple panes of glass that's looking out down range, so it's not going to be as clear to you guys as it actually is to the naked eye, but I hope to be able to actually present that to you as well. Now, another issue that you're going to run into whenever you are pushing optics like these is, one, a red dot does not have any type of bullet drop compensating. I do understand that there are some out there that have it, but even with the limitations of the bullet drop compensators that you have on those red dots, and even with something that's a little bit more advanced, a little bit more refined like an ACOG, a humongous issue that you are going to run into within these optics is, one, dead space. There's a lot of dead space between the different stadia lines that you have to reference your point of aim inside of an ACOG. And those steady lines are going to be massively magnified, and your ability is going to be hindered based off the size of the target. Generally speaking, with a lot of the qualifications and everything that you're doing with different militaries, Marine Corps, Army, you name it, the majority of the time they're shooting at nice, big, massive silhouettes, and they're actually able to have a large margin of error to be able to quote-unquote get their hits and to be able to actually qual really well. But the problem you're going to run into is, once you have a target that is hidden down, that is ducked down behind cover, you're going to have a much harder time being able to connect with that target, because now instead of having a 30-inch tall by 18-inch wide target to shoot at, you're looking at a 10-inch target that you're going to have to shoot at. So anybody who is just completely standing behind the use of an ACOG, I challenge you, take your rifle out to 500 yards, set up a 10-inch plate, and let's see your hit probability at a 10-inch plate. Give yourself a 30-round magazine. Let's see how many rounds out of that 30-round magazine that you can use to be able to actually get a hit down range. And more so, magnify it whenever you don't have a berm or something like that behind the target, to where you're able to actually spot your misses via impacts in the dirt. You'll find that the majority of individuals, even guys that have trained on systems like this, are not going to be able to get their hits. These smaller targets like that, where you have targets that are hidden in and behind objects, they're not going to be able to actually connect with them reliably at distance. And again, that is because of dead space and the amount of margin of error that you're actually having to work with that sighting system. So BDCs, in my opinion, are an absolute no-go for any kind of fighting rifle. Now, moving on up to something like a 4.5 to 14, like what I've got on this 18-inch SPR here, or even something like this ATACR 5 to 25. That is going to be absolutely a better option over an LPVO, being able to see. But there again, you've got to understand the limitations that these optics are presenting, and kind of ask yourself, is the juice really worth the squeeze with having that extra magnification, with also adding the bulk and size and weight that these optics actually provide on the end of the gun. Something like this Mark IV here, which is actually relatively light. You could do a little bit more with that, but once you get into these larger optics like this, it's going to be more so, again, tailored towards the use case for you as the individual and the shooter down range. Do you value the ability to own everything from 0 out to about 500 yards? Or you're going to be moving on to something like this, where you're able to actually own everything from about 100 yards all the way out to about 700-800 yards. Again, it's just going to come down to the user preference and what it is that you are doing. So without further ado, guys, we're going to go ahead. We're going to do some examples shooting at distance with these guys here, and let's kind of want to walk over and talk over the exact limitations and where you're actually going to run into hindrances with these downrange, as well as I want to get some footage through all of these optics at targets that are actually camouflaged downrange and a little bit more difficult to see. So without further ado, let's go ahead and let's get into it. All right, guys, so this is the plate that you'll be looking at here. So the first set of pictures that I'm going to be showing you is actually looking at this plate back when it was, I just painted the thing brown and green. So you're looking at it before, it was white with a red dot painted in the center. So again, a nice high contrast target that you're looking at downrange, and you can see that even with the 3x. Moving on up to, went all the way up to 25x. You can see how much better that you can even see it there. Now obviously more magnification is going to be able to help you see better, but as you can see that even down on those smaller magnification that you are looking at there, you are actually able to see that high contrast plate even with the 3x and the EOTech at 200 yards, or 225 rather. So keep that in mind. Now I'm going to go back. I'm going to kind of get some pictures as well as talk through it with you guys to give you all an idea of what it is I see, and then kind of let y'all know a drill that we run out here sometimes. It's been a little while since we've done it. We need to do it again. I've got a video way back on it where I had them a whole bunch of targets hidden back in the field, and I'll talk a little bit more about it later. But the guys running lower power optics, every single one of them failed in locating and engaging all the targets at distance. Each target, they had a yardage for each one that was set up. It's like, hey, this is the target's description, this is the location that it's at, and this is the distance. None of the guys running lower power optics, even LPVOs, could really locate and connect with all of them. It took all of the higher power magnification. Now keep in mind, LPVOs are a compromise. They are an effort to give you as the individual shooter the ability to be able to connect out at distance reasonably on a reasonably sized target. Preferably movement is going to help. So if you're static at these positions, it's going to be hard for everything to be able to locate it. You're going to need to be relying on movement to be able to actually see these targets in a lot of cases, but you'll be able to see that if you have the experience in actually locating these targets downrange with the correct equipment, it is possible. And kind of something that I don't see a lot of individuals thinking about during their training is they think, because I can see these high contrast targets and hit them out at 600, 700, 800 yards with an ACOG, that makes it a great viable choice. And as you'll see through these pictures, that is absolutely not the case. Now keep in mind that whenever you're looking at these pictures, it is not a realistic, I guess, one-to-one representation of what it is I am seeing versus what it is you guys are going to see. But keep in mind that it is going to be able to contrast the difference from one optic to the other. So I'm going to show like just the full image, and then I'm going to crop in the image so you guys get an idea of exactly what it is you are looking at down range. So without further ado, let's go ahead and let's get into that portion. All right, guys, so I just want to go ahead and set the stage for exactly the type of drill I was referencing earlier, what it is and why we do it. So basically, it's sort of a combat hunter style of drill is what they call it in the Marine Corps, where we'll have a bunch of different items set up out here in the field. There'll be items ranging from large items like Alice packs, camelbacks, rifles, stuff like that, all the way down to small objects or maybe objects that are just barely peeking out. I've got my Ivans that out here that are humanoid-like, and I'll paint them with kind of like a face paint type thing, and they'll just be barely peeking out from around cover and brush, or I'll have an entire silhouette that's just kind of nailed down in brush that'll have a blouse on, either a multicam, M81 woodland, something like that, and I'll have it set up downrange, and I'll have multiples of those that each individual with their scoped rifle has to locate, range, and talk each other onto, and they'll write down on a card the range of the objects, the area the object is in, and kind of build out a dope card for those particular items, be it that even though from here we're not very far from those items, but we'll usually keep those a little bit closer in. And then the second part of those stages is I will have multiple targets set up downrange, ranging from as close as all the way up here to like 60 yards out. It's nice and easy to find, locate, and see. To all the way down, sprawling out to about 225 to about 250 yards away from the shooter's position that they'll have to actually talk each other onto and locate. Now, all of these targets are going to be very well camouflaged, or at least somewhat camouflaged, not high contrast, relative to where they are located in the brush. They'll be set back into shadows, so you'll actually have to peer into shadows. That's one of the areas that you'll find that these these lower power optics struggle, is peering into shadows, actually having to locate and find those targets. And keep in mind, we're close right here. We're max 250 yards. This target that we're looking at here is 225 yards. So what I'm going to do is I've taken pictures through all of the optics, kind of done the best I can. Keep in mind that it's not going to be a perfect one-to-one, so I will actually zoom in on these. And the contrast isn't great because you're looking through cameras that's looking through multiple panes of glass that's trying to get contrast downrange. It's going to be a little bit different than your eye, but you'll be able to get a general idea of what it is you're looking at and what it is I'm talking about. Now, keep in mind that if your shoot distance is 300 yards and you've got a target like this that's normally high contrast, that's something like an ACOG is very easy to connect with, you won't even be able to find it. The drill that we had done before, where we had targets set up in a nice wide open field, I had sagegrass, I had brush, I had tree lines, I had alley open of a middle field just painted the exact same color as what was behind it. Nobody with optics like this was able to pass. Not a single person found all the targets, much less was able to engage them. All those targets, I said, this is where they're at, this is the general location, this is the distance, find them and shoot them, and I give them a 15-minute, 20-minute time limit, whatever it is, to be able to find and locate. Even the guys that are running LPVOs severely struggled. But keep in mind, an LPVO is a compromise. You're able to do a lot of the close-in things, and you're able to successfully reach out and engage targets farther away better than what you're able to do with something like a red dot magnifier in an ACOG. So we'll go ahead and start with the magnifier. So right out the gate, I can tell you guys that now versus when I initially took this picture, that target is in the shadows. I cannot see it at all. I know where it's at because I've got a post that's driven in the ground, and I can kind of get a general idea of where it's at. Knowing where it's at, you cannot see it. And again, guys, I recommend to you that you actually get down behind the gun and try this yourself. Set these up yourself with your given setup. Let's see if you can do it. We have guys come out here, and again, I tell you, guys with setups like this, none of them ever are able to successfully do it. Now, keep in mind, magnifiers and red dot combos are not the greatest with glass clarity. Even good magnifiers, that Vortex is a good magnifier. You're looking through 4 open panes of glass there. And another area that you're going to run into problems is inclement weather. You get any kind of rain with anything like that, forget about being able to engage, to see, much less engage at targets like this. Now, picking up the ACOG, this distance, I know where it's at. I have a reference point. I am able to make out that there's something out of place there, but I'm not able to actually realistically see the target very well because it is in the shadows. Now, before, where the light was shining on a little bit from the sun peering through the trees, I was able to pick it up a little bit, but because of how your eyes adjust to light, your pupils are going to open and close, they're going to dilate according to the light source that you've got outside, and peering into a dark area where your pupils are dilated, they're not drawing in quite as much light. You are going to struggle with a system like this. But looking downrange, I could, let me find it, there it is. I could engage this target from where we're at. I can see it, I can sort of see it, I can make it out that it's there, but it's starting to get difficult. But keep in mind, this is only 225 yards. We're not very far from the target right here. Now, moving on up to something like an LPVO, or 1:8. I pick up something like this, even if I dial this thing back to about 6 power, which is where a lot of the GWatt LPVOs have been, I can see definition on that target. I can make the target out, I can see it, I can locate it, I can find it. It would not be as difficult as something like an MPVO, like a 4.5 to 14, but it is usable. Dial this thing up to extra 2 power. Believe it or not, it's a night and day difference in the amount of contrast that you're able to actually see downrange. And I'll be playing what I'm seeing to you guys, or kind of roughly what I'm seeing. I took those pictures earlier, so it's a little bit darker there. It's actually a little bit more difficult to see, but optics like the ACOG and the red dot magnifier combo were taken whenever there was a little more contrast and light downrange on the target. It was actually able to see it earlier on, versus whenever I picked this setup up, as well as my scoped bolt gun right there with the 5 to 25. Now you pick something up like this optic here, and again, I can see the post, I can actually see the bolt that's on the target. You're going to be able to see exponentially better with a system like this, but again, keep it in mind, you're looking at compromises here. What is it that you are going to favor more? Again, guys, I recommend that you get out with your individual setup and you try this and see. Have somebody else set the targets up for you at distance so you don't know where they're at, and then just try and locate them. You ain't got to shoot them, but you can go into a state forest, you can do whatever, you can get on a small piece of property, get permission, find something where you can get to where you can set targets up like this, and just see the difference in contrast that you're able to actually differentiate downrange, and you'll be able to see exactly what it is that I'm talking about. And while these are great optics, the ACOG is a battle-proven optic, and Marines have been able to make do with what they have had downrange, because Marines themselves are shooters, Marines themselves are warfighters, and Marines themselves know what they're doing when it comes to fighting an enemy. That does not mean that it is the best option out there. That does not mean that the red dot magnifier combo and the ACOG are not going to do good in certain applications. Understanding the limitations, they can be put to good use and they will work. But whenever you are setting up an optic and you're setting up a rifle, do specific things downrange, understand the limitations. There's a reason that a lot of the guys that have been able to have a choice on what they run on their rifle, Modern Tactical Solutions, I can't remember the guy's YouTube channel, but he's an ODA. He's been a member of ODA. He had been in the Army for 30 some odd years, I think, and like 19 of that was on an ODA. You look at the optic that he ended up with and the thing that he preferred, I'll go ahead and kind of post a picture of him. There's a reason that guys like that are running LPVOs on their optic, on their rifles. There's a reason that the 1:6, 1:8 has been the primary choice for guys that are doing this for a living. There's a reason that the Marine Corps as a whole has started issuing Marines 1:8 LPVOs over the ACOG. It's a better system. It's a proven system. Is the ACOG slightly tougher? Yes. Is the ACOG exponentially tougher? No. It's not going to, the pros of the durability of the ACOG are not going to outweigh the cons. Alright guys, you have to bear with me because even the thermometer that's on the side of the house up there in the shade is reading 104 degrees right now, so it is spicy to say the least in North Florida right now. So this portion of the video, I kind of want to harp on or go a little bit more in depth and really drive home the importance of understanding dead space inside of a reticle and how detrimental that'll be to you as the end user and being able to get your hits down range. So the targets that we generally practice on are going to be C-zone A reduced size C-zone size steels like this, meaning the reduced size being the head itself is a little more thinner, and it's a little bit more representation of if they're getting hits anywhere inside this head, basically they're getting hits in the T-box and then down into the center portion of the vitals where the heart, lungs, diaphragm, liver, kidneys, all that stuff is located inside of the human torso. And you're going to be getting effective hits down range. If you hit someone in the arm, yeah, you're going to wound them, but you're not going to necessarily put them out of the fight if you get hit. But that being said, guys, those are the targets that we're actually going to be engaging for the most part down range. And that's what we're going to be shooting at here today as well. So keep that in mind whenever you hear me talking about the different targets that we're engaging. The majority of them are going to be larger size like that. Now, the problem that you're going to run into whenever you are looking at the actual dead space within a reticle like this, within a sighting system like this, is you're not going to have a whole lot of points of references for misses. The reason that we don't use berms out here in a lot of ways are going to create training scars in order to make a really effective shooter. It's going to hinder the individual's ability to call their shots, or I guess more or less going to make them lazy when calling their shots down range, and they're just going to take the hit indicator that they get in the berm as for their correction, and they're going to make the correction based off of that instead of going, okay, this is what I was doing during the time that I broke this shot, so it's likely that the projectile went into this location, so I'm able to make a correction and get a hit down range. And that's one of the major reasons that we don't run berms. We also do it in order to help guys that are spotting, so I'll put shooters on spotting scopes, and I'll have them shooting down range, and they'll be able to make calls based off of the vapor trail that the bullet is producing as it's flying down range, and it makes a better spotter overall. And it also helps the spotter to be able to learn what it is a given projectile out of a given rifle is doing at a given distance, dependent on the conditions that they're actually able to see down range. So that is our reasoning for that. A second reason is a lot of times it's going to create a false sense of ability with a sighting system like this, because you're able to easily spot your misses out of an ACOG, even a distance like 500 yards, and be able to get your hits on even small targets, something like a 10-inch plate. One of the issues you're going to run into with the dead space on a reticle like this is in an actual event that you're having to use one of these for what it's made for is once you fire that round down range at a given target, say it's just a head poking up above cover, a 10-inch target at a given distance, that target's not going to stay in that same location. So normally speaking, you could take a setup like this and you can aim in on it and be like, okay, I'm just going to Kentucky win that bitch with a berm, and you're going to be able to get your hits. But in a situation where you've got a target that's moving down range, you're not going to have that luxury. So you need to be able to learn how to be able to spot and make corrections down range. Now, the problem that you're going to run into with something like this with a lot of dead space is you don't have reference points to be able to actually accurately correct and make your hits downrange. So whenever you're seeing me shoot these today, keep that in mind. And whenever you're hearing me talking about dead space, keep that in mind, that that is what I am referencing to. So without further ado, guys, it is hot right now. I wanted to film this portion of it here in the shade before I went over to the firing line, because I don't want my cameras and stuff to overheat, because they do that very quickly. I have to film in short spurts and let everything sit in the shade and cool off in between shots. So without further ado, let's go ahead, get on the range, and let's do it. All right, guys, because I don't believe that you should just take any old body's word for it. This is going to be the shooting setup that we are working with today. The reason I'm not going to be going bipod prone is because some of the rifles that I have out here have the ability to run with a bipod. Others I do not have the ability to run with a bipod. I could attach Picatinny slots to everything, just run everything off of a bipod, but I'm just going to go ahead and we're going to run it off of the ladder prop right here. If you're a competent shooter and you know what you're doing, the ladder, for this spot right here, my wobble zone is pretty much the same size as it is when I'm actually shooting in the prone. So everything is going to be run off the same prop with the same Armageddon gear bag running underneath it. I'm going to be running the same ammunition in each gun. The 14.5s, the 11.5, and the 18 will all be running in 193 ball. And the 308 will be the only one that'll be different. It's going to be running some match rounds, but because I don't believe that you should just take any old body's word for it. Your pedigree doesn't mean nothing unless you're able to actually prove to everybody what you're able to do. And plot twist, military courses of fire are easy. So let's go ahead. I'm going to show you guys that I do not just have an opinion on different setups, different optics, and why you should or should not run them. I also am able to effectively employ every single one of them, and that is what I'm going to showcase for you here today, pushing them out to this perspective ranges that is realistic for each particular setup. Now, again, as I mentioned before, I don't have berms. The 11.5, I'm going to push it to 400, kind of see if I can get connections with it. But realistically, that gun isn't designed to shoot further than that. I might try for the 530 with it. It's a pretty big target, which again, big targets are a lot easier to hit. I might hit that with the 11.5. It's kind of Kentucky wind, you can put over it, but again, that's where you got to worry about dead space. Wind is it's quite windy today. It's a little bit calm right now, but it's going from 0 up to about 8-10 miles an hour. It's kind of varying back and forth, so I'm going to have to be on my P's and Q's with the wind. But without further ado, guys, you can see, you can hear it picking up there. Let's go ahead and let's get to it. All right, we're going to be starting off with the 11.5, shooting M193. So I'm going to do this first target. It's going to be 304. I'm going to put the dot basically at the mid head on the target. As you can see, it is perfectly capable of connecting out to this distance. I'm perfectly capable of using this setup to connect out to this distance on a C-zone steel, so basically the vital zone of a human target. All right, now, again, where you're gonna run into problems is if this target is concealed and it is not high contrast. But I digress. Let's go ahead, let's push it out to 4. I'm gonna give this, I'm gonna hold about a half target high. Found the hold. That's about 3/4 of a target high. All right, let's go ahead. Let's just punch the 530. I got that big target. Again, big targets are a lot easier to hit. I'm going to hold about a target high, and I'm going to hold, I'll just hold center. Let's see where that gets us. So I'm not going to keep slinging those, burning ammo on this. If anybody tells you that they can consistently on a go anywhere, basically pick up a target that's at 500 yards and connect with it with a red dot and a magnifier consistently, they're lying to you. They're welcome to come prove me wrong. They're welcome to post up a video proving me wrong. I'm not talking about in a nice manicured range with a bunch of berms and all of that. I'm talking about an environment like this where you can't spot your misses. You need to understand and know your holds, and dead space is going to kick your ass in this aspect. So let's go ahead, let's bump it up to the 14.5 with the ACOG now. Now, again, guys, I'm not an incompetent shooter. I'm a very competent shooter. I do these ranges a lot. I shoot out to this distance almost weekly, multiple times a week. So I shoot out at these distances multiple times a week. I usually shoot out at these distances multiple times a week. And the ACOG and the 14.5, this particular setup and this system is something that I am very well versed in and very used to using. This is what I used in my time in the infantry in the Marine Corps. Pedigree, there you go, right there. We're talking about it. But, hey guys, I will tell you that this has its limitations, and having had a lot more skill, a lot of time behind other weapon systems and understanding the limitations that different setups are going to provide, I will be able to showcase for you here today that I can still connect. But the issues you're going to run into is dead space. This is a well manicured range with set target distances at 3, 4, 5, and 600 yards, and then 530 in between that with a nice big target. And I'm shooting C-zone steels. That's a big target. you'll be able to see here that even though I'm able to connect with this distance, it's not going to be as intuitive as the LPVO, the 1-to-8 LPVO, and then moving up to the larger optics is. But without further ado, guys, let's go ahead and let's get into this. I'm going to start at the 300 first. All right, now let's go ahead. Let's go to the 400-yard line. All right, let's go ahead. Let's move on out to 5. Now again, guys, and I'm probably dancing all around that target, but this is one of the issues that you're going to run into with BDCs is they very rarely line up. I was shooting this gun the other day at a slightly cooler temperature, and this was my hold. 500 yards was my hold, the 5-pin, and that's because I had it tailored and set up to it for that given temperature. But any amount of even minor temperature variations, and it's going to greatly change your point of aim, point of impact with a BDC reticle. Even shooting in the morning versus shooting in the afternoon on the same day with the same ammunition, the same gun, it's going to vary a great amount because barometric pressure, temperature, everything's going to change. One of the big drawbacks of running a BDC style of reticle. So again, I don't have anything to go off of for my misses here. Let's go ahead, let's push this out to the 530 because it's a bit bigger of a target. Picking up. I'm going to hold left. Wind change directions. Man, you see that? That pushed me all the way. I mean, there's enough wind going right now that it pushed me all the way to the target to the right of the one that I was just shooting at. All right, let's go ahead. Let's go for the 6. I'm gonna go for 5 again. I'm gonna use the 6-pin at the base of the 5. Yep, nothing on that. So, not entirely sure where those are hitting, but again, guys, this is where a BDC is gonna cause you a great deal of problems. I've got a ton of dead space in here that I'm working with on top of the lower end of the magnification, and then the BDCs, they almost never line up. I'm using the correct ammunition. I'm using NATO spec M193 ammunition. M193 and M855 are going to very closely resemble each other's their trajectory out to about 650 to 700 yards. And as you can see here, having problems with it connecting at distance. Now we're going to go ahead, we're going to go to the 14.5 with the LPVO, and we're going to run this again. This ammunition, this one's about 4 foot per second slower on average with the same ammunition as the other one. They're the exact same barrels. They're both Criterion core barrels. This one's about 4 to 6 feet per second slower. I can't remember off the top of my head, but the trajectories line up almost exactly between the two with one versus the other. So we're going to go ahead. Let's see, 4, 8, 13, and 18. We're going to shoot these at distance. All right, we're going to go 400. All right, let's go 500. I didn't put flashers on that one, but it's ringing. You can hear it ringing. It's getting hit. All right, let's go 530. Man, not having dead space in a reticle is fucking awesome. All right, let's go ahead. Let's go to 608. Amazing how that works. Pedigrees and shit, you know what I'm talking about? All right, let's go ahead. Let's move up to the 18-inch. Let's see what we can do with that with the MPVO. It should be a little bit easier to do. The rounds fly a lot flatter in this guy too. About half the adjustment range up. These things are like laser beams out of an 18-inch barrel. But without further ado, we're gonna go the 300 first. All right, let's go ahead. Let's go to the 4. Amazing. Got quite a bit of wind picking up now too. This 18-inch gun is really proving itself. That's the 500. Not really any issue getting that out to there either. Let's go ahead. Let's go 530. It's going to be man, no dead space. Let's go 6, 15. All right. See what's going on with that there, but probably a dirty gun. I ain't clean this thing in a minute. But as you can see there, again, guys, 18-inch, absolutely zero issue, no dead space, nothing to have to worry about on this. I've got a point of reference for literally every single point of aim inside this gun all the way out to distance. And I can push this thing, and I have pushed this all the way out past 1,000 yards. Even more capability, so pretty neat how that works. All right, guys, so in closing, what is a TLDR of this video? Optics don't help you shoot better, they help you see better. You can't shoot what you can't see. You as the end user, it is absolutely your choice on whatever setup you type to run. I'm not going to tell you that your setup sucks, this, that, or the other, as long as you're running high quality parts and quality rifles that are going to actually run in adverse conditions. But that being said, guys, you're gonna have a lot of individuals out here on the internet that are posting videos talking about how this optic sucks. If you run this, you don't know what you're talking about. Guys, everything's going to have its limitations. Everything's going to have its gives and takes. ACOGs are going to have its limitations with the reticle that you have in it. They're going to have the limitations with the eye relief. They're going to have their limitations with magnification that you've got on the optic. You've got a fixed power optic, which in my opinion, I can't stand fixed power optics, but you know, you do you. They're not going to really do very good up close, and they're not going to do very good at far, but they're going to be able to get you by. LPVOs, they're also going to be a compromise with terms of weight compared to an ACOG. They do absolutely way more than what an ACOG weighs. You barely weigh anything. But there again, guys, it's gives or takes. performance is going to give you a cost somewhere. It's just like running a bipod on the front of a gun. A bipod is going to weigh the front of the gun down, but it's going to give you a bit of a performance that you're not going to have in the prone versus just running off of a magazine. Can you get it done with a magazine in the prone? Absolutely, yes you can. But again, everything has its trade-offs. Everything has its gives and takes. I wanted to do this video for you guys to kind of show you I have enough time and experience behind to effectively employ these weapon systems and these sighting systems out to distance and do realistically what they're meant to do. But again, guys, I want to give you, as the end user and as the viewers on my channel, a good, realistic look on the limitations, and let you know that you need to understand that reticles with a bullet drop compensator, they're just not it. Get something with a mil-based or an MOA-based reticle, in my opinion, and you are going to do exponentially better than you are with a BDC reticle. A BDC will get you there, but it's not going to do it very well. And then lastly, guys, kind of take a look at the competition world, because it's going to be a good indicator on what works and what doesn't. Look at the guys that are all on the top rung of their different craft with the sports shooting world. The dudes that are all focusing up close, everything's up close. You're never going to see guys running an ACOG whenever it's a match where it's an up close style match, whether that be with a PCC or an AR. They're all going to be running dots of some kind. That or an LPVO. You will see LPVOs on a lot of the top end guys that are running up close as well, but more or less dots, because a dot will do better up close. Vice versa. You look at the guys that are shooting out the distance and your Serengeti and your quantified performance style of matches. I have been to several matches at this point, and I have never once seen somebody out there with an ACOG. I have seen guys out there with an LPVO with a BDC in it, and they did not perform good. They did not finish any of the stages. Every single time I've seen somebody with a BDC, none of them ever finish the stages, because the stages never have targets that are, one, they're all smaller targets, and two, they never line up with the yardages that that BDC or meters that that BDC is made to line up with. But on the flip side, you will see guys with LPVOs at the top of the rankings that are running LPVOs with a mil or an MOA based reticle. Right off the top of my head, John Hatcher, Mike Russo, two of the guys that are at the top of the game in the precision gas gun community. Both of them are running LPVOs. There's a reason for that. These are better. Jack of all trades, master of none kind of thing, but you were able to get a hell of a lot more done with a setup like this than you are with this. But again, guys, at the end of the day, your gun, run what you want. I don't give a shit. Just train with it. So if you do have any questions, drop them down in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and I appreciate y'all watching.